What's up, everybody? Matt Nuzzo here at Real, and today we get to talk to Wieger. Did I say it right this time?
Yeah, Wieger is perfect.
All right, good, good. It's from Appletree, the big boss here. He's going to go through the line. He's going to go over the history of the brand and just enlighten us on all the different shapes they make. So, no further ado, take it from here.
Okay, cool, guys. Thanks you all for being here. Everyone online, thanks for being here. So we just want to do like a little quick roundup of you know, what we are about, what our little history is that we have with the brand. I'm going to explain a little bit about all the technology that we have, because that's always a bit of a complicated one. And like you said, we're going to go through most of the models that we have, that you guys have available and that we have in stock. So yeah, let's go. So I don't know if any one of you know where Appletree, like the name Appletree actually came from. Anyone knows?
No.
Yeah, no one knows. So I actually was born on an apple orchard in the Netherlands. And I've always liked making stuff and just exploring, seeing how stuff works. So when I was 16, thought I could make a surfboard because I thought they were expensive. And I was like, I can probably do that. So I started trying to make surfboards. They were absolutely terrible. But because we lived on an apple farm and I did it in my parents' shed, actually from my very first surfboard onward, the name was Appletree. So cool. I think that's still pretty cool. We had a different logo for like 3 surfboards, and then we switched together with my younger brother. We made this logo. So it actually represents a tree with an apple. Most people get it, but I still get people like, "Oh, really? Does it? It's a tree."
I get it now.
Yeah, you get it. I get it now. So once you see it, you can't unsee it, but it's pretty nice. So we're pretty proud of that fact that we just started it over there. I made surfboards for myself, for my friends, as most shapers basically start. But you know, Netherlands not really known for its quality of waves and output of pro surfers. So you know, it was never really gonna go anywhere. And then my younger brother, he was a pretty good surfer, and he actually did an internship at Mystic. So you all know Mystic because you sell it here as well. Mystic their headquarters is like 15 minutes from our house. My brother was a harness and wetsuit designer over there. He made the first, you might remember, the first sliding harness they had with a hook that slides all the way around. That's actually his design. He designed that as a study project, which is pretty cool that they actually put it in production.
Cheap labor, man. Cheap labor.
Cheap labor, free labor, basically.
Yeah, right.
That's what they're all about. But he got into kite surfing, and I was making surfboards, but I was really mainly focused on making better and stronger surfboards. Yeah. Also because I couldn't get normal blanks, I couldn't get polyester, I couldn't get the normal stuff, so I was forced to make surfboards from stuff that was available in the Netherlands at the time. And that was epoxy resin and EPS foam, so I was making surfboards in the shed and just trying to get them better, looking online, just trying to find out new ways, started experimenting with vacuum pressing, made my own vacuum pump, and started making pretty strong surfboards. And like I said, at the same time my brother started kite surfing, and started actual strapless kite surfing with the Mystic guys when that basically started to be a thing. And they were all complaining that all the surfboards basically broke constantly. So they asked me to like, let's have a good thing, see if we can make a surfboard that's stronger, lasts longer. And that's how we came into the kiteboard market. And as you know, Netherlands is very well known for their output of pro kite surfers. So all of a sudden it was way easier to get our boards to market. Which was really cool. So all of a sudden we actually sold boards, and then we ran into a guy. By this time my brother was also helping, and we were sort of, you know, together. And it's still in my parents' backyard. We got a little shack going, built a couple boards, started our own first little actual factory, hired the first guy, and then we ran into Ben Wilson and his people when he was still when he still had his BWS brand. And they were looking for a producer for the Stallion board that they designed. And they had no producer. They were talking to this one person in Mexico, but they couldn't do it. So they asked us to make a board. And we made 2 or 3 samples, I think. And one was shipped to Ian Aldridge in California. And that was like a big thing for us. So we were like, okay, send the board. And then we heard nothing for 6 weeks. Like literally nothing. So we were just like, oh, it doesn't like it. Is it good? Like, and then he just out of the blue dropped a video of him absolutely shredding that board. Like never seen anyone kite surf like that. And that was such a amazing moment for us. We're like, wow, this is so cool. So we started producing boards for them, like 2 a week, 3 a week, 5 a week, little more, hired our first guys, grew our factory slowly but surely. And then basically only then started to do everything properly professional. So I quit my other job, my brother quit his job, and we went full-time producing surfboards. 5 years ago, we moved our factory to Portugal. Main reason, 2 reasons. Labor cost a little lower in Portugal, still quite expensive, but lower than the Netherlands. Main thing is that in the Netherlands, people, they just don't want to do manual labor, basically. Everyone wants to be the manager, and no one really wants to, do the grind of 8 hours a day in the sanding bay. Can't really blame them, but, in Portugal, very easy to find craftsmen, so it was an easy move. My brother actually moved to Portugal with his family. The 3 guys that we had working for us all moved to Portugal, which I still am super grateful for. All of them are still with us. One guy did move back to the Netherlands, but I'm super happy with those guys moving. And right now, you saw a picture in the carousel. We have another factory in Portugal, so we moved again within Portugal. And we now have our own factory building, which is 3,500 square meters. I don't know how big that is in square foot. I think times 9 or 10. Big. Yeah. Pretty big. Yeah, it's a really big space. We bought the building, so it's actually ours. Cool. And we employ 35 people at the moment in Portugal. We have an office in the Netherlands where I work. My wife works on marketing. We have Sam here in the US now. He works full-time for us in the US, so he's an important guy for you guys. You can always call him. He's in your time zone. He'll answer the phone. He knows everything about orders or whatever. So yeah, we're super happy with our progression so far. We try to grow everything naturally and slow-ish. Like we do grow really quickly, but it's hard to, get the quality up to the level that we want it to be. And then, European labor laws are quite strict, so we cannot hire and fire people at will. So we need to grow the sales with the production and sort of balance all of that out, so everyone can keep their job basically. But going super well, and it's pretty unique. Like I think we are the only bigger brand that has full control over their own production, which gives us a huge advantage over others where, it's expensive for us to make boards, but we can still offer them at a competitive price because we can control the flow of product coming into the market at all times. So you'll hardly ever see our product on sale just because we don't have to. We produce exactly what's needed in the market, and that's a very important way to have like a sustainable flow of production. No overstock, no big sellouts, so we can keep the margins, a little tighter because we know we're going to make that margin, and that way we can provide the client with a quality product at a competitive price, but you're getting a lot more product for your money basically.
It also seems like your production, your timeline from sample to like testing samples, like you're changing them a lot. Yeah. As you're prototyping something and then getting it to market, it can happen a lot quicker.
Yeah, it can happen a lot quicker, and we can prototype way quicker. Yeah. Plus, we can prototype in the final construction, which is another big issue. So a lot of brands will prototype kiteboards, for instance. They'll prototype PU polyesters because that's what they can make in Hawaii or whatever they test. And then once they're happy, they send it to China, and then they get 500 boards back. And if they're shit, you have 500 shit boards. What are you going to do? You're still going to sell them. We can prototype until we're happy in the final construction in exactly what the client's going to get, and then we only produce what's needed. So if it doesn't work, if a model doesn't work, if people are not happy, we can switch, or we can change something and make it better mid-season if needed. We don't usually need to, but you have the option at least. So that's. It comes with a lot of benefits. So at the moment we also produce boards for other brands, as we did from the start with BWS. Unfortunately, they went out of business, which almost dragged us down, but luckily it didn't. And now we produce boards for a number of other brands. Most brands that we work with, or all of them actually, we have a really good relationship with. So you'll see our factory logo, which is this hexagon drop, on all of the boards that we produce. It might not say our Appletree logo, but we only work with them if they're happy to showcase that, we actually do.
It's your construction, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a benefit for the brand you're manufacturing for.
Most brands see it that way.
Yeah.
And the brands that do see it that way are like, they're usually the ones we want to work with anyway, because they understand that it's mutual beneficial situation anyways. It's good for everyone. So at the moment we run about half Appletree and other brands, but we'll see how that goes in the future. It's kind of nice for us to keep things steady. Like, this is our factory at the moment. It's cool. A lot bigger than this. This is just the middle section. Actually, underneath all of that area over there is where everything happens. We have lots of space to grow, so we built this building as a final building. Hopefully, like, this will stay. We're thinking about opening another factory if we grow bigger, maybe opening a factory stateside. So again, being more local with the production, because we pride ourselves on being sort of local brand, but I know that here in the US we're not really a local brand anymore. We're still hauling surfboards across the big pond, so eventually maybe we'll get there.
Cool.
But with the growth, should be okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Any questions about this part while I take a sip?
Yeah. Got to stay hydrated. Cool. Well, let's move on to the construction. That's awesome. Humble beginnings, and it sounds like you guys are well on your way, so congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, so construction is actually our main unique selling point, I would say. It's something that we have actually developed in the shed. So back when we were still in the shed, we, again, building on the drive of making something stronger and finding out how we can do things better. We actually went to a lot of like composite fairs and spoke to a lot of people on car design, yacht building, mainly windmill building, because there's a lot of development in windmills. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. They have to be light, they have to be super strong, they have to last super long. So they develop and invent a lot of stuff that we can sort of tap into in our smaller industry with less money for research, to be honest. It's like a lot smaller than that. So we work very closely together with a number of suppliers that also help us with technology and help us with like moving forward. But we did a lot of our own research, and basically the whole brand is built on two things. One of them is our foam. Now this is blue. We also have it in white. We use different kinds of foam. This foam is specifically formulated for us at Appletree because this is a foam that with a normal construction method you cannot use. So we use different colors just because like in some of the carbon boards is green foam because you won't see it anyway. In all the kite boards is white foam. It just depends on the factory's availability and what they can produce. Where you'll see all the scraps blue and white. It's exactly the same chemically. So it's two things. This foam is it's the same formula as EPS, but it doesn't have the beads. And the big advantage of that is that it's fully waterproof, guaranteed. So if you get any ding in your board, you are guaranteed that the water does not penetrate the board at all. Like, we will replace it straight away because we know we never have to. The foam is also way stronger, plus it has like a structure inside, so you can feel it later. But if you push from the side, it's a bit softer. It's still hard, but it's a bit softer. But if you push from the top, it's super hard. Like, it's really, really rigid. Of course, you stand on this side, so you get full benefit of the strength in this direction. Problem, like I said, if you normally laminate, I'm just assuming that you all know how you normally laminate a surfboard. You must have seen the videos. You cut it, you put fiberglass on top, you pour your resin over, you squeegee it in, wait for it to dry, flip it to the other side. Because this foam is so fine, if we shape it, it's a super fine structure, and the resin doesn't get into all the small gaps. And because of that, you're gonna get delaminations because it's just not a good connection. So the thing that we found out is that if you use a resin infusion tech, you can get a full 100% chemical connection between your shell and your foam core. This is a little bit technical, but bear with me here. What you do, you'll see a lot of brands say that they have like a vacuum construction, but what they all do is basically you do a normal layup, then you put it in a bag and pull it vacuum. What that does is it does push the laminate closer to the core, and you can use it to push down your skins, your honeycomb or your fiberglass or your PET skins, but it doesn't. It does push out a little bit of the resin, but it's still not the perfect balance between fiber and epoxy. Resin infusion, on the other hand, is basically you wrap the whole board in fibers completely dry without any resin. You then put it in a vacuum. Then we wait quite a long time, and then under pressure we inject the resin into the layer. What this does is it gives you the ideal ratio between fiber and resin. So fiber is only strong because it's connected to other fibers with the resin. If it's too much resin, it's never really strong. So you want the ideal ratio between those two. And the only way, there's only two ways to get that ratio. One is infusion and the other is pre-preg. So you'll see a lot of foils have pre-preg construction, but the pre-preg constructions won't work over a foam core because you have to bake it in the oven and it will collapse. So resin infusion is the only way to get the maximum strength out of the same material. And it's insane how much of a difference it makes. So you can have the same epoxy, the same fiberglass, but in the wrong configuration, it's weak. And in the right configuration, it can be like double or triple as strong. So resin infusion gives you the option to get consistent results over and over and over again. Plus, you get a perfect connection between your core and your skins. And that's why we can use this type of foam.
Yeah.
A lot of shapers have experimented with this foam in the past. Everyone loves it for its shaping ability because it's one of the nicest foams to shape. It doesn't smell, it's not chemical, it's air blown, not chemically blown, so it's not toxic. It's 100% recyclable. All the foam scraps that we have, like these, are either used for packaging or they get crushed and recycled and they get sent straight back to the foam supplier and they make it into new foam that we then get back. So it's 100% one-on-one recycling. So it's in like so many different ways a better way of producing your board. Another big advantage that we have is that we can do the top and the bottom, the boxes, inserts, grab handles, whatever, all in one go. Like everything is one shot. And that gives you a way stronger rail line, for instance. Because normally you see, like, if you have 3 layers that you do on the deck, you wrap it around the rail, and then you have 2 layers on the bottom. So you do 2 first, and then you do these on top. You have quite a high ridge here. So they have to sand this flush to get like a smooth surface. So you have these 2 layers, then you start sanding. You sand away quite a lot of material to get it flush. And you do the second one, and you sand away a lot of material again. That's the reason why a lot of surfboards will crack on the rail, because they did too much sanding to get the thing smooth. What we can do is we can interlock the layers because we have this time. You know, we can just do bottom, flip it, top, flip it, bottom, flip it, top, flip. And they're all connected. So you only have to sand away a little ridge to get everything smooth. And then because of the vacuum pressure, it's pressed so hard against the core that that there is hardly any sanding needed. So basically when a board comes out of infusion, it's rideable, basically. It's 100% rideable. There's no air pockets. There's nothing to be filled. It's just rough. So it needs a hot coat like normal, just to get it smooth, to like get the rail line sharp, get everything like nice and neat. But technically, it doesn't need anything. It's strong. It's all there. For instance, in the kiteboards, you will see that you have this little tab here and here. What we do is we cut a hole through to the deck. Then with the infusion, that gets fully infused with epoxy resin and it connects the box to the deck. So with this construction nowadays, we have 0 box blowouts ever. They do not blow out. I did a video on box repair, and we had a board that had the box flipped the wrong way because the guys were not paying attention. So I had to break it out, and I actually had to like take a crowbar like this big and try to, wow. And it wouldn't break. Like, and eventually, finally it broke, but the whole box broke in half. It's so strong, like it's fully connected. Another advantage is that we can use materials that you cannot use without infusion. So there's most of the sort of high-end production of any composite part in the world, not surfing, but just like I said, windmills, car parts, sailing yachts, all kinds. It's all infusion or pre-preg. So there's a lot of core materials, for instance, and reinforcement materials that are designed to use in this way and not in a normal layup. So the stuff that's on what we call the hex skin, on the kiteboards, for instance, this on the deck, you can only use this material in an infusion setup. You cannot just put it down as a normal brand and just gloss over and be done with it. It doesn't work. So we can use all those materials. Our foil boxes and all the foil boards, you'll see, there's like a little ridge here. Underneath, inside, is a really thick PET, so this material of your cups. But then in a foam version, honeycomb. That's extremely, you know, these things here, very, very tough. They're not stiff, you can bend them. There's this material, to try to rip it, you cannot just rip a cup like this. It's super, super tough. So that's why we use it for the foil boxes, to lock in the foil boxes. This is cut out on the CNC, then it's layered with carbon fiber into around the boxes. Then we layer the PET honeycomb, and then we put our boxes in. We have our own boxes now. Those are designed to work with our tech. It's also the way they are designed before they are in the box, they're in the board, they look quite different. 100% designed to work with our tech. And they're completely fused in carbon fiber. So we get a lot of questions like, are your tracks carbon fiber? The tracks are not carbon fiber because the nylon plastic is actually, in a lot of cases, stronger than carbon fiber, because carbon fiber is really strong. But if you tighten, for instance, a T-nut into it, it doesn't like to be, you know, tightened, or the carbon fiber doesn't like to be dropped either. So the plastic is actually better to grab the T-nut, but you get the stiffness from all the carbon wrapped around the boxes and then over the top. And then when the whole thing is infused, because it's a honeycomb, through the honeycomb walls, it connects the top to the bottom and then to the board, and then it also goes to the top of the deck. So basically,
so the foil tracks basically connecting to the deck of the board.
Yeah, they do connect to the deck, but only on a little spot, because the foam is already so strong. So where most brands will use a HD foam around the box, that HD foam is then encased in softer foam. And where all boards always fail is on the edge between the two. And the reason is that you have a really, really strong and hard material, which is great, but you're surrounded with a softer material, and all the force focuses on this one corner. Our board is basically fully high density foam, and then even higher density around the boxes. So you feel, when you're riding the board, you really feel that connected feel with the foil, because it is the stiffest construction you can get. So again, like, we started doing kiteboards, but we went into foil boards. 2 reasons. Our tech that we developed on glass fiber is also amazing for carbon. So it was a very, well, not very easy, but relatively easy step for us to go into carbon fiber, because it's just roughly the same way of working. And the benefits are even higher in carbon, because you just get the stiffest connection. And anyone that tries our board, you can really feel that, like, stiffness, and that translates into better control of your foil, better pumping ability, you know, better energy transfer, and that's very, very easy.
Yeah, to the end consumer, I mean, from being a consumer of these boards, like the foil boards, that's where I noticed, like, the kite boards are amazing, and I've really appreciated to travel with these boards, and one, they're not dinging in your bag. I've, like, you know, like you said, hit the reef and broken a fin off, but not broken the box. So I just got a new set of fins and put them in. So that's like a huge thing for traveling. I've dung the board bad on the reef, and it's like giant crack in it, and it's like, okay, I could still ride it. It's not gonna be, it's not done for the trip. And then going to the foil boards, I found that the construction, particularly as you're getting into like these wing boards or prone boards that are thicker, it feels like you have the stability of standing on a sidewalk. Yeah. You know, it feels really solid under your feet. Connected. Unlike, it's a totally unique feel to your brand compared to any other brand that I've used of foil boards, and you do have that, you know, positive feel and connection to your foil, which a lot of people think the board is like irrelevant when you're foiling, but it's so important from the beginner level to the advanced level rider. So the construction for kind of both spaces really translates.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's it's a kind of a natural way. It's kind of cool because when we started, there was no foiling. It didn't exist, and we sort of evolved into foiling and into winging and now into downwinding and prone and all those new
cool how it's grown with
you got to be lucky sometimes as well. You know? Something has to, you know. It's the same as here, you know. If kiting stayed small, then this wouldn't be here.
Right.
And now you also branch into winging, and it's probably bigger than kiting at some point.
More time on water. That's
exactly.
It.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
So, do you guys have any questions about the construction or how they got there, any of that stuff? Travis.
What's the reason that you can't shape the foam by hand?
You can shape it by hand.
So Travis had a question. What was the reason why you can't shape the foam by hand?
Yeah, I thought I read on your website that it wasn't really easy or simple to shape by hand, and that's why you guys made the machines that you use to shape the foam.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that, or?
Yeah, sure. It is. You can shape it by hand, but it's actually harder to shape on the machine. Because a normal shaping machine, like a normal Akku machine or like the machines you can buy, they will clog up on the foam because it will melt due to the temperature. You really have to have super good extraction, get all the excess material away. This is why we designed our own machines. So you're right, we run our own machines. We have 5 CNC machines now that we all built in-house. It's more advantageous in terms of maintenance, price, you know exactly how they work. But also we can control the speed at which they cut. Shaping by hand, it's really nice on hand tools. It's not so nice on like machine tools. You got to be careful because it will melt and it will clog up all your gears and everything. But we got it to work basically. It's a little trickier, but it's more like it's super nice to finish. Like hand finishing or like doing channel bottoms and stuff, it's amazing. It's such a nice foam to shape. Way nicer than EPS. EPS, most shapers hate EPS. That's why a lot of shapers also stay to PU, because PU is nice to shape. EPS, just the beads fly out. It's just a pain. Yeah. But you know, it's best of both worlds, I think.
Cool. Anyone else? Joey.
Yeah, could you elaborate a little bit more about the waterproof? Like how are you making it waterproof, and why isn't that more standard? That's like
So question is, elaborate on the waterproofness of the boards and why can other brands do this? Like how are these boards waterproof?
Yeah. Well, the foam is naturally waterproof. So if you make foam is basically like bath foam, but then smaller. So lots of little bubbles. So EPS, the problem with EPS is what they do is they make the beads first, separate beads. So they blow little beads. All the individual beads are waterproof, but then they press the beads into a mold, and all the area between the beads is the problem. So that's not waterproof. This material is just one homogeneous material. So it's individual cells which are waterproof. So there's, water can get in one cell, maybe in the next, but not in the third and the fourth. So that's why it's waterproof. The reason why no one else is using it is just because of what I said before. The hand lamination isn't possible, and the vacuum infusion tech is quite complicated. Like, it's not rocket science, as in it is actually rocket science, but it is not super complicated. Like, it's standard practice for yacht building. But what they do is they all make a mold, and then they press inside the mold, and then you get a part. What we do, because we don't want to make molds, are really expensive. So if you make a mold, it's like 10, 15,000 for one mold, for one model, one size. So you imagine have to make molds for every size and every board. What we found out, we found a way to do infusion around the core without using a tool, without using a counter mold. That is, if you work hard, you can figure out how to do it, but how to do it consistently over and over and over again on every board and get super consistent result, that's just very hard and labor intense. So, like most production boards are made in Asia, the Asian factories are not interested in a more complicated way of working. They have their way of working. Some of them are actually quite good at it. I mean, respect for them. They're really big, and some do a great job. Yeah, but it's like also our factory. You'll see a little bit in the pictures. There's a few videos online of our factory as well. It's more like a lab than a surfboard factory. Most of the guys walk like in Tyvek suits, like everything's super clean. It doesn't smell at all. Everything is covered. Everything is just made to like work efficient and as consistent as possible. It gives so much advantage. Like when we can calculate how much resin a board will take, so we don't have to mix too much resin. We don't have resin dripping all over the floor. We know exactly what the board's final weight will be because we can calculate it. It's more science than most surfboard building. It's just like we've been doing this since the 60s.
Yeah, this is how we do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So that's the thing.
Any other questions on the construction?
Yeah, you mentioned that this foam has a directional strength to it.
Yep.
And the compression on the deck is stronger than
from the sides. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that work on a homogeneous foam?
So the question was, how does give me the question again?
The directional strength of the foam work. It's got more compression strength in one dimension than another.
The question's about the directionality of the foam. How's it work?
Yeah. It's due to the way the foam is produced. So it's just a benefit of the foam, not something that we engineered into it. It's what you call an extrusion process. So it's basically pulled up. And in the machines that make the foam, it comes out as one continuous slab that they then cut into pieces. So most surfboard foam, like most PU foam at least, and also standard EPS blanks are blown into a mold again. So they have a mold of a blank and they put the foam inside and it's a chemical reaction and it becomes foam inside this mold. Ours are just rectangular blocks basically. So we have a bit more waste, but because we can recycle all the waste, it's not really a problem. And yeah, we have bits left over, but we actually use that as well to clamp the blank in the machining process, and then packaging. It's a really nice packaging material. So yeah, that's basically it. It's pretty cool once if you feel this, you feel it after how different it is, and it's actually like pretty strong.
Yeah,
it's yeah.
Don't want to get that one in the teeth. All right, let's move on to some of the models. So we'll start with the kiteboards because that was your roots were the surfboard.
That's our first connection. I think some people took Stallions here.
Yeah.
All the way in the beginning.
Yeah.
So those were still a bit rough back then. We were still like, it took a couple hundred boards before we got it.
It's kind of one of the first blunt nosed boards out there was that, and Vader, which was a straight surfboard. So the Stallion was the first like kite specific blunt nosed board.
Yeah. Not our design. But our construction and the two work together, and super good board. We made many of them. So on the kiteboard side, at the moment we still have quite an extensive range of kiteboards, but kite surfing is not as popular as it was, unfortunately. We had a great session today. I really enjoyed it. I still love it. A lot of people went over to the dark side. We actually also make carbon fiber surfboards, which are also amazing, but that's a different story. We just recently started a collaboration with FCD Surfboards. So Fletcher Schoenaerts Designs, part of Patagonia. They've been making, well, you know better than me, they've been making kiteboards for a really long time. Always made all their boards in-house in their own factory in Ventura. Never really wanted to venture outside because Fletch is quite a character and he's very specific on what he likes. But we were lucky enough to start working with him and he was super impressed by the construction. It was something he actually experimented a lot with this kind of foam, and they used to make boards, but they had the issue with the delamination, so they stopped working with this type of foam because they couldn't figure it out. Was one of the reasons why he really was interested in what we were doing, because we came with a solution, and he actually wanted to go back to this foam because he liked everything about it apart from the delamination. So yeah, we started doing a couple of boards for them, and we mainly now do the Shrike model for them, which is a really great all-round, basically standard shortboard kind of shape for kiting. So again, it's our super strong foam, and then on the deck you'll see this whole honeycomb running back to front. The honeycomb gives an additional impact resistance to the foam. This foam basically, with the average rider, will not dent. Heavier riders might get a slight heel dent under the front foot. We put an extra patch there as well, so it gives you extra resistance, but your board, you've been riding quite a bit, there's zero denting on there. The boards are really strong. In terms of shape, well, like it said, it's mainly their shape. it's just a super nice all-round performance short board. Basically good for anyone. Goes upwind, really great. Super good for traveling, also due to the construction. Like Matt said, you don't have to be worried about dings or whatever. That's a really important one to communicate to people. It's really not an issue. Trying to even ding this rail is virtually impossible. If you do, there's no issue. So it's a super nice board. These boards, in this case, it's a little bit like you'll see a little bit more color here and there. The coloring on this is 100% resin tint. So it is in the construction. It doesn't fade, but it's like the classic surfboards where it's fully resin tint. Some colors give a more even finish than others. The orange and yellows, for instance, are very clean. The purples and the pinks and the blues are a little bit more like where there's more material. So like on the rail, there's more fiberglass, more epoxy, the color will be darker. It's something a lot of people don't care about. If you do, get a white one.
or get over it.
Yeah, or get over it. Or yellow, like I said, yellow, orange. There's a few colors that are a little bit like cleaner than others. But yeah, like I said, super nice all around. Comes with 5 fin boxes. You can go either way, can't go wrong. It's really nice as a thruster. Gives a bit more drive. I like it with a quad also because it gives you a bit more upwind. So if you're riding here, for instance, where there's quite a lot of longshore current, it can be nice to have a quad fin in there. Gives you a bit more upwind drive. Yeah, that's
sweet.
That's all she wrote.
Cool, and then our kind of next foray into the foiling, we got the mini foil here, which was been a really popular kiteboard for us. You know, a lot of people are loving that mini foil for a kiteboard. And then so in the kite line, the two that are popular for us, mini foil, and then the
Skipper Short.
The Skipper Short. That thing is tiny. That's a little tiny.
That thing is tiny. So yeah, the difference between the two, so the mini foil will definitely stay. Also, kite foiling is not as popular as it was because of the winging as a light wind activity, but still has quite a lot of people doing it. The mini foil is way easier to ride basically. It's just a flat surface. They come up to 4.6, so that's quite a large board, much easier for people to get going. Still has our signature stiffness, so you get all the benefits. You get that really strong and connected feel, way more than most other brands out there. They now come also with our longer tracks, so you have more flexibility there. Just all around super nice board to ride. The Skipper Short, on the other hand, I'll talk later a little bit about the whole Skipper range because we have more boards called Skipper because they're all based around the same design concept of the Skipper. But the Skipper Short comes in just 2 sizes. They're both really small, 3.4 and 3.10. Designed for kiting, but also really good wakeboards because we make those slightly heavier construction than the mini foils for this reason. Dock starting, wakeboarding. Like wake is a very quickly growing market. A lot of boat owners don't know foiling, so they see it. You know, for them, you already have a massive boat. Yeah, get one of those. Those boards are great. Get those for people that don't know surfboards are fragile. We all know. We know how to treat them. Boat owners don't. They just throw them on the boat. You know, those can handle. Even if they do crack, they won't soak up water. These guys probably won't even notice that there's a crack. So you're just going to keep riding it. Those boards are really good for it. They've been designed for that, kiting, dock starting, and tow. So tow foiling, big wave tow foiling and stuff. The bottom shape on those is the Skipper concept. It's maybe a good bridge into the Skipper. So what the Skipper concept is, it's basically a full displacement hull. So compared to the flatter boards that are there, the displacement hull gives you way better release, and it's not called the Skipper for nothing. It really skims off the water surface. That's how it's designed. So in these small ones, it's not so obvious, but in here, it's way more exaggerated into like a longer, elongated shape with a release point in the end. These also have this release point, but it's mainly just designed to deflect the water off the surface. It makes the boards a lot less stable when you're still in the water. So they're tippy, they're more advanced boards, or boards Like behind a boat, it's not so much an issue because you have power. You know, you just put your foot in foot straps, you know, hit the throttle, and then you're fine. But very good. If you do touch down, then you don't brake. You know those boards, especially with winging, where you touch down and it just sucks and you almost fall over because it brakes so hard. These don't have any of that. So yeah, that's a skipper range for you. So from this, we go one step up. Is the skipper prone, which we don't have here, but it's the prone version of this. Then there's 2 sizes of that. Then there's 6 sizes in skipper prone. Then there is 6 sizes in skipper wing. So you'll see the same language, but it's easier to explain with this. So it's got quite a heavy displacement hull up the front, and then it goes into this really rounded, narrow outline, and especially in the back, it's quite narrow. So it's really designed for advanced wave riding. So it starts really easily, and it comes to the surface of the water super easily, but it's mainly designed to like crank hard turns in the waves. It's narrow, so you can get closer to the wave surface. You can get more critical with these boards. And the skip, again, is super, super nice, but quite an advanced sort of shape. They come with a really nice rough grippy deck. All of our boards, all of our wing boards now come with all the insert positions that you want. So whether you want a V, a narrow V, I personally ride with one strap across, especially wave riding. I never switch feet. I always have my left foot forward. So I'll put it more centered so you have more leverage over your foil. On the back, it comes with 5 and 5 holes and then 3 little ones either side. So you could do middle if you do step over. I, again, have like a diagonal, like a more natural stand with your feet slightly out. This is, for me, a really nice way. Again, putting it over the center line gives you that ability to have leverage over your foil when you're doing toe side turns strapped, if that's your thing. Put these little grab rails in there. Funny how much that actually helps. Pulling, like when you grab your board and you're winging the other hand, you have to go through the shore brake to just pull it through. It's quite thin here. It's got this extra little ridge here. It's actually quite a nice board to grab a hold of. So yeah, skipper wing. And then from the wing, we can go 2 directions.
Let's go. You're in skipper. Let's go to the skipper. The other skipper. The final.
There's another skipper. There's a skipper downwind.
Yeah.
Those ones.
Yeah.
The really long ones. So those are basically downwind boards and light wind wing boards. We don't have one here, so we can't really explain too much about that. But we do have the skipper downwind prone. So it becomes a bit complicated. Sorry for that. All the names. It's a bit confusing. But it's just, again, the skipper family, but then the prone version. We call it a downwind prone because it's basically the downwind board scaled down. You can use this for downwinding if you're good enough, pedal super hard or with like hand pedals and downwind on it. It's mainly made to prone on either super weak waves that barely break, or like you mentioned, like here, for instance, when it's high tide and it will just like feather, but never break. With this, you can catch it. It is insane how easy this pedals. This is a 50 liter. It doesn't ride like a 50 liter, but it pedals like you're on a longboard. It's so efficient. 2 pedal strokes and you're on speed. As you can see, we put the pads really far forward. So when you're laying on this board, it almost feels like your normal prone board because your nose, you're quite far forward on the board. This is all behind you, just to give you that efficiency and like give you that extra push. And when you pedal, it's almost like you're not going to make the wave, and then as if someone gives you a little tap and just boom, just falls in. Sam was winging them the last couple of days. They do work as wing boards. They're very narrow, so they're not the easiest board to start. But once you're up, or like once you have a little bit of power, because of the efficiency of the whole almost canoe shape, it just flows through the water like nothing else.
And with the mast a lot farther forward too. When I saw Sam yesterday, just ripping these turns, like super quick turns. It did not look like. I mean, how long is that board? 5 foot, 5.5
This
foot.
5.5.
5.5. Yeah. So I mean, it looked like you were on a significantly smaller board. It just looks small in the water. You know?
And it feels small.
Yeah, because of narrowness and the mast being so.
It
far
has
forward.
less swing weight because the counterbalance to the front. So when your tracks are really far to the back, the whole board that has to do this. And this basically, it's still swing weight, but it's a really, really light construction as well. So these are made in a slightly lighter construction. You're not going to jump them. You know, we can make them. We'll make them slightly lighter, which a lot of people like for these type of lightweight riding. And then finally, they are amazing for foil driving because if you wanna use a foil drive to learn to downwind, and you know, for instance, I'm not too keen on actually learning another sport and going through the whole grind of downwinding. But I do like to go with my friends who are good at it and just go for a downwind run.
Yeah.
I put a small foil drive with a small sport battery, and instead of pedaling, I hit the throttle, I'm up with the guys, and we're just chasing bumps.
Yeah.
It's not an easy board to foil drive with because of the narrowness. Also, foil driving like in flat water, it's made to foil drive with a bit of push off the wave, because I think most of you have tried the foil drive, right? So it has power, but it doesn't have power like an e-foil. It's not an e-foil. You need an efficient board, or you need a bit of a push of a wave. So this board will get you going super easy if you have that extra little push. So if you have, if you're a foil driver and you're experienced, and you can also foil, you can wing, you can already prone foil. It's like an extra thing. This will be perfect for you. If not, we've got another board for you coming up that is way better for sort of the more beginner foil driver.
Yeah, and we've even been using the Slice V3 has been pretty awesome. I was talking to Sam about it yesterday. It's like, for kind of that entry level intermediate foil driver, like a 60 liter bigger Slice V3 with a flat back, it's still narrow enough. It doesn't, with the foil driver, you just want to have a board that's plowing water. Yeah. And that board, the Slice V3, kind of has that nice amount of volume, little more length, little more narrow. So beginner intermediate is good on that, and then advanced rider on that.
What I noticed foil driving this, what's the hard part, is that this is so efficient that it will go onto foil before you get time to get up on your feet.
Yeah, right.
So with the foil drive, what makes it easy is if you have that board, that sort of the foil drive pushes you onto like plane, but not on foil yet.
Right.
This doesn't go on plane; it goes straight onto foil because it accelerates so quick. So you're still laying down and like you're already on foil, and then trying to get up with the remote in your hand is quite it's possible, but it's like a bit advanced.
A little more advanced.
Where the wider, flatter boards give you that like few seconds that you can get on your knees or get on your feet, because with the foil drive getting up is not as easy as normal proning. So
I thought it was, and then I ate crap for 3 days.
Exactly.
And then yelled at
I had the same thing.
And then he told me how to do it right, and I was like, "Oh, hold it out of me, thanks." Appreciate it.
But it's also having the remote in your hand and having to try to sort of control the throttle while you're doing it. It's just something you have to get used to. That's the whole thing. But if if you're a rider that's like really advanced and foil driving is just an extra thing you want to do, or like me, I can prone pretty well. I know how to control these boards, and I want to go get into downwinding. Why get a massive downwind board that's just super annoying if you do this, and like I said.
Or particularly if you don't sup, I know a lot of people getting a downwind with the foil drive, they don't sup, so they're kind of like, I'll just get a some sort of mid-length like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Go for it.
So perfect solution for that.
Travis.
Got a question. In surfing, having a lot of weight forward in a board, like on a step up or a gun, for instance, allows you to paddle faster and get into waves earlier.
Yeah.
How did you guys come up with that whole kind of fat guppy front of the board on the skipper? Because it almost makes too much sense. Is there a cool story behind that, or how'd you guys figure that out?
Question is, how'd you come up with the fat guppy front that's on the skipper?
Yep.
Trial and error is my answer. Yeah, again, it's the advantage of having your own factory. We go through the craziest designs. You don't want to see our early wingboards where didn't make any sense, but it's just so nice. We can do 5 prototypes at the same time, little tweaks. Now it's more little tweaks, but in the beginning, it was just we were growing.
So accidentally you guys figured out like, hey, putting a little more meat here is going to produce an easier release, better skip, better paddle, all that. Well.
Narrower tail. A lot of people, like if a board is really wide in the back, you don't see what you're doing. You don't see the wave, that it's blocking your view. The rail keeps grabbing. But a little width in the front, like in the Jazz, for instance, makes it like it wants to go to the surface naturally. It wants to be more stable. When you're winging and you're getting up and you're like pushing on your deck's still low and your front foot's like pushing, a board with a narrow front will just plow down, while a board with more width in the nose will go up. So it's it makes sense if you think about it, but it takes some time and some prototype iterations before you're actually there, basically.
Lots of versions.
Lots of versions.
Cool, you brought up the Jazz here. How's that one fit into the range here?
Yeah, so the Jazz was initially purely designed as a freestyle board, so we're doing a lot of them like 50, 60 liters just for the freestyle. Same kind of thing, like when you're freestyling, a lot of times you land, but you don't land on foil, you just go straight through. If you do that on a very narrow board, you go straight through the surface and you're gone. So freestyling on a skipper is a lot harder than freestyling on a Jazz. Vice versa, wave riding on a Jazz, not so easy. It turned out that the width makes it a crossover as a very easy beginner board. You can sit wider with your knees, We don't do pure beginner boards per se, but for your like first sinker kind of board, so you get like a 60 liter or a 70 liter for someone my size, I always recommend if you want to sink, go proper sink, because you don't have that corkiness. Go 20, 30 liters under your weight in kilograms, so you proper sink. But then having a board with the width up front, plus a little bit of extra rocker in the nose, just makes it push to the surface super easy. And once it's on the surface and you have a little bit of speed, it's super stable. It can get to your feet, and then once you're up, it's very easy to ride. Of course, the flat surface does grab more. So if you do skip down, that board does break quite a bit more. But again, otherwise we would all be on the same board. So, we design boards for different needs, basically.
Yeah, I found the Jazz too is just really stable in the full size range, like just from on the water stability to on foil stability. Yeah. Really great for learning foot switches, really great for, like you said, taking off. It does perform, in a pretty wide range, but it's a great board for stepping down in volume because you get that on-water stability and then on-foil stability, whereas a lot of times when you go to dropping down in volume a lot, the board's super twitchy when you're up on foil, and it's really hard to get there.
It's funny how, it shouldn't matter your board when it's up in the air, but it does. A narrow board is harder and less stable. Parts in your head, but it just makes sense. If you have a wider platform, it's easier to step around. Yeah.
Cool.
I think last but very, very much not least is our new Slice V3. So I'm gonna put it there. The Slice in the V1 and the V2 has always been our best-selling wingboard because it's the best of both worlds. It's super all-round. It's the board of choice for most people, just because it has a bit more, it's got the narrowness, you can wave ride, you can free ride. It's super easy to ride. In the bigger sizes, it's really stable. And it's just super nice all around. It comes in both big sizes as floaters, smaller sizes as sinkers. So you can go either way, basically. The biggest differences between the V2 and the V3 now, as you can clearly see, we made it mainly longer and narrower because we found, again, through trying a lot of boards, and also actually the boards that we make for other brands really helps because we get other people's ideas. You can try them as well. It does help. All those things add up.
You can't unlearn what you've learned.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. You cannot not see it. It works. It gives you so much more low-end ability if you have a longer, narrower board. It does make it a little less stable, but actually the length also gives you quite a bit of stability. Another thing that we've done in this board is the bevel is pretty hard pulled in. Mm-hmm. So, like we said just a few minutes ago, if you see a wider board, you will feel more stable. Now this board is way wider on the top than it is on the bottom. So you have the efficiency of a narrower, longer board, but you have the security and the stability of a wider board in one. And that's sort of a little bit of a cheat, let's say. Then we've taken parts of this, so you'll see a similar kind of displacement hull. What we don't do is do like a double concave displacement hull, because a concave naturally does suck the water in instead of pushing it out. So it's more like our Profoil boards that have the displacement hull and then the release. So this rail is quite hard, even all the way up front. So initially what the board does is plow and release, plow and release. So you get the water out of your way. Then moving into the board, it becomes flatter to give you that stability and to give you that security. But if you look closely, it's not fully flat. It's actually a bit of a three-stage kind of bevel situation. So bevel 1, then there's a secondary bevel that runs to here, a flat section in the middle, and then another bevel. So what we try to do, again, best of both worlds. This works amazing, but it's very unstable. This way we can have both benefit of that displacement, of that like skipping properties, but then added stability plus added like planing surface. So when you get up, it just wants to sort of go. Further down, again, the long boxes, pretty far forward. You can really place your foil all the way forward if you need to. If you have a high aspect foil that wants to sit far forward, you have the space. I'm usually bang in the middle, 4 or 5 with the back. So I have plenty of space. I've never felt the need for more room further back or to the front, and I've tried a lot of foils. And then in the back, really straight tail, again, just for pure release. So it's this is narrower, so you can carve it harder. This still has that narrowness in the back, so you can wave ride with it, but with a bit more, you know, all round, more entry kind of entry level performance. So a lot of people will really enjoy this board. Couple things to focus on. You can basically ride this about 10 liters less than you're used to in the same conditions with the same foil on the same wing, or you can easily ride a foil size smaller or a wing size smaller just because of the efficiency. Actually gave it to the guy today. He was purely used to riding a 70. Gave him the 60, he's like, just go, it will be easy. And he came back and was like, it's easier than my current 70 liter because it's so efficient. I ride this personally in a 60 liter, which is my normal go-to size for any wingboard. It goes to the surface and it goes onto foil so easy. So if you look at the pure rocker line and the deck of the board, it has a recess. So the recess is here for 2 reasons. One, it's kind of nice to have your sort of your foot cupped in this area. 2, our standing area is always parallel with the foil box. So we design our boards, of course, to match any foil out there. So we start with a neutral surface, so your standing area is exactly 90 degrees to your foil mast. This part is quite a bit higher than this. So what we've actually done is not make a recess, but we pulled the rest of the board up, therefore creating a recess. So you can put a little bit of more flip in the nose just by pulling this up, but leaving your foot down, which then sinks into the board. That gives it upward lift, almost like, you know, the foil. It's almost like a foil. When it touches the surface, it bounces back up and it wants to go up. Always up, up, up. When you're underwater, you're on your knees, you grab your wing, it shoots straight up. Like it's designed to go to the surface as quick as possible, get you up to speed with the rest of the design, the release, and then once you get speed and onto foil. And you should really try bogging the board on purpose. I saw you do it yesterday as well. Try to like hit the surface. It doesn't want to stick. Like it bounces straight back up.
So a lot of boards are sticking when they touch down. So like, you know, basically coming down, touching, sticking, or redirecting. I've had more boards kind of like redirect, whereas like you hit down and it will bounce, but it bounces like to an odd direction. Yeah. So this thing kind of tracked. I kept like pushing the nose down, going faster, different angles, like across the wind, edging, downwind. Like a lot of people are touching down coming through turns. So it'll come through turns and then glance down, and it stays going the direction that you were going. So will really help with kind of transitioning people that are coming through transitions.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. It's because of that whole bottom design that it doesn't want to pull you in the direction. Plus, it has the hard rail all the way, so it will release any direction. It will release and not catch the water. So a more rounded rail. Also, like in these, we put this is hard, and then it becomes soft, and that's for the same reason. Right. So if it does touch down, it wants to release because of a softer rail. If it releases sideways, the water pulls up, and that's what actually breaks you. Where a hard edge will release. That's why the rail on this one, also compared to the V2, is pulled up way further, and that's exactly what it does. It doesn't pull you in a different direction.
Right.
So again, we're getting further and further in the design, which is a really cool thing.
This board's awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got a 60 liter here if anyone wants to give it a rip. Any questions on the Slice V3 that just launched this week? Or any other boards? Randall.
Yeah, you're using the term displacement hole for a couple of the different boards. Can you just define exactly what the displacement hole means?
Question is define what a displacement hull is. I can say that.
So, to put simple, a displacement hull is a boat, plow. So you displace the water to both sides. And of course, it's not as, like our profiles are the prime example of a displacement hull, exactly designed to do that. But those they want to go one direction. So they're designed to go fast, pedal, 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 get into the wave, get up, and then don't touch down anymore. And then there's different variations. So even in normal surfboards, you'll see the term displacement hull, but it's very subtle. It goes into like flat V. That's basically what it is.
Cool. Anyone else? Sean?
So the Apple Slice, that's like out of your whole lineup, that would be recommended for like freestyle winging for like because of the quick release from the...
Yeah, I mean...
the question was, is the Apple Slice designed for freestyle, or what board's best for freestyle?
I would say the Jazz is still best for freestyle because this will work perfect for freestyle and it will bounce, but if you land really hard, of course it will go through because of the narrowness. Right. And if you land a really big jump and you come down, and you can't catch it on the foil because you come straight down, then the flatness will just get your landing and you can get back up. So yeah, for freestyle I would still recommend Jazzes because they are purely designed for freestyle and for stability. But I mean, of course, it's an all-round board, so it can do both the freestyle and the wave riding and the free riding. Right. It's both ends of the spectrum. It's just bang in the middle.
Awesome. Anyone else? Chad, you got some questions back there. I'm sure you do. Come on, Chad.
All I have to say is it calls to me.
Yeah. Chad's ready for his next wing session. He's thinking about his order and his color combo on that. So I guess that brings us to
the color combo.
The color combo. So really there you go, all the colors. And we do stock, for all those in Cyber World, we're kind of a regular orders of these things coming in, so we'll have regular stock orders, but for customs too, we are in regular communication with Sam or Rep and the team back in Portugal and Netherlands. And so anyone that wants a board, we can call the shop, we can get you a custom made, or we can get one out of stock.
Yeah, so just a little bit about all the artwork. It is not a print, it's all handmade by our guys in Portugal. They love doing this stuff, so please make them crazy with your color combinations. We have a bunch of standard colors that we offer, but we also do custom work like whatever you want. I think that white gray is not standard. This like teal is not standard. So, it's hand mixed, so there's no guarantee that we're gonna match exactly your color, but the guys are really good at mixing colors, so they can do lots of crazy stuff. Like your kiteboard is gold flake with black. Insane. Gold on black carbon is insanely cool. Like again, it won't come across on video, but the depth in the color, because there is actually a lot of depth in there. It's not just a print, it really pops. So the customs are cool, and they're very, very happy to make you anything you can dream of. The only thing that we can't do is like super hard geometrical lines and stuff. We can do a bit, but because it's handwork and it's resin, it's not paint, it comes with a few limitations. But we've
So
got.
what you're saying is they only like to throw the paint.
We do like this. Like, see, this has a little, and there's difference there. We can do some stuff, but it's quite complicated. They like throwing.
Yeah.
But we did a few like almost camo kind of stuff as well. So that's made very differently. So, and they keep coming up. So all of the graphics that we have come from the artwork team. So we thanks. We like to give them a lot of free hand, and they sometimes come up with stuff that, and they will call up. A few months ago, Miguel, one of the guys, was doing. He had this like crazy sort of thick marker writing stuff that he did on the board, which looked super cool. But we were like, it doesn't really match with the rest of what we do. Yeah. So maybe later. But they keep feeding us with new nice. Really cool concepts. So that's cool.
Cool. Anyone else? Randall.
We had someone in the board loft the other day asking about that logo that's around the leash plug.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us what's going on?
Yeah. Super good point. Almost forgot about that one. So in all the new boards, they have an NFC tag in the board under the leash plug. So it has the logo around it. NFC tags do not follow you or track any of your movements. So don't worry. They're just a identifier for your specific board. So they have the model and the serial number and everything baked in. Once you get your board, you can scan it with your phone and register it to your name. You then get into this special Appletree world, basically, where you can find a lot of information about your board, where it's made, how it's made, registered to your name. So if it gets stolen or lost, it can always be traced back to you. You can transfer the ownership to someone else if you do sell it, but it's basically unsellable if it gets stolen. So it's a little bit of extra security. And you can find lots of information about maintenance and care. We try to make our boards as repairable as possible. So almost anything that can happen to the board is repairable. We provide instruction videos on how to do it yourself. You can find all of that through the app that you get into. And sustainability for us is a super, super important part. So we also work together with Sustainable Surf on our boards. And you will find a complete product passport of your board in the app, basically, that you get into through the scanner.
Can it track a lost board?
It cannot track because it doesn't actively send any location. It's basically just almost like a QR code, but then digital. The thing why it's in the board, it's just you can't take it out. It's baked into the board. It's impossible to take out. So it really it's basically a proof of authenticity for the board, and just a super easy way for people to register their product and get help with anything, questions that they have. And for us, it's a platform that we can build on. So the product passport, we want to do full life cycle assessment and full emissions reporting on all the boards. We're not there yet because that's super complicated, but it gives us already, we can go back and all our clients can in the future see how their board is made and what went into it. So it gives us a lot of new, cool opportunities, basically. Cool. And you don't have to. So if you don't want to, you don't have to register it.
You don't have to have it.
Oh no, we always put it in, but you don't have to register it. Okay. If you're scared or if you don't want to give any data away or something, it's completely sealed. The European data rules are extremely strict, way more strict than here. So we are actually very limited into what we can even do with the data. We're not allowed to see a lot of the data. We can see if people do register it, and at the moment, up to 90% do register their board, so people really like it, and something extra, something cool. If you're unsure about the board, actually, when they're here, you can scan them. Of course, don't take ownership of boards that are still in the showroom, but you can check it out. It doesn't, anyone just try it. The only thing I would say is carbon fiber.
Randall, what did you do? I feel that's all my board. It's on the shelf.
Oh, that's Randall's. Yeah. This is Randall's. It's on. If you need info on the board and you just blank and you're with a client, scan it because you'll get all the info. So it's actually
always on your phone after that point.
Yeah, it's just
Like the info and the story and whatever is
exactly
on your phone after that.
Yeah. Just don't register it if it's a board that's in the shop. If you find
one in the sound, don't register it, right?
If you find one that's someone else's, it will give you like, this is John's board.
That's very cool.
Send him an email, and then he'll get an email straight away like, oh, they found your board. So that works, but you can also find information about someone else's board because it will still show you like, oh, this is an Apple Skipper Downwind Prone. So you can still find out about someone else's board.
So it's a good SAM kind of tracking software.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's pretty cool. Like it's something new, it works. Oh, the only thing I wanted to say, carbon fiber blocks the signal. So that's why they're under the leash plug, because it's plastic and it will go through. Sometimes you will have to hold your phone for like a couple of seconds. I guess most of you have iPhones. With iPhones, the NFC scanner is next to the camera. So if you put it on top, you will be prompted with a link. Some other phone models might have the scanner in a different position. So in the future, we will add a tiny little card with a small explanation and probably a QR code to a video on how to scan it. Because with the fiberglass boards, you can literally scan it from the other side. It will go straight through. But carbon is just, it just blocks signal. That's the thing. But it works. We test them all before they leave the factory, and they have, like I said, they have the serial number and everything baked in there. So we need them also for production and for scanning.
Also, on that note, let's wrap it up. I want to take this board right here. You should watch out and scan.
See if that's worked.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
No
Appreciate the
Thanks
tech talk
for having us.
For all those out in the cyber world, reach out online, realwatersports.com. Give us a call at shop 252-987-6000. See you in the water for the next session.
Thanks.
Great.
Thanks, bud. Nice. Thank you, guys.